Hey, today I just want to sort of talk about being adult. What being adult really means, right? For me, I just feel like adulting really sucks. Just having the responsibilities of an adult, right? In our society. Like you might think we have a lot of freedom when we're adult. And life is so much more fulfilling, you might think, when we have more knowledge of the world. And with great power comes great responsibility, right? And also comes with very great disappointments. I feel like the more you know about life, the more depressing life can be. Like, remember back when I was a kid, I would just be on the playground playing all the time. And apologize, the background, there's a bunch of kids playing on the playground. I think this is a very appropriate setting of how it feels to be adult. Like, when I was a kid, I would not really stand still. Like I would just constantly feel like doing something, right? Whether it's like playing in a sandbox or just finding people to interact with. As an adult, I feel like a lot of the curiosity and creativity I once had sort of died, and this certainly vanished. I was in there. It's really sad. It feels like maybe work life has contributed to it, I feel like it sort of sucked the soul out of me. The factory job I worked at, it's quite dehumanizing in some way. Like, I can't really blame the company itself. This is just the way jobs are designed. They're designed to make us feel less human. Like, when we were kids, we felt so human. It feels really strange because I feel like the more you know about life, the better it is. But you realize how messed up life is once you start learning more about philosophy and the psychology of humans, how we are inherently just very selfish and self-centered creatures. We only take our own self-interest at heart, and it's our priority, right? If you think about it, every single relationship or friendship you have is pretty much conditional and transactional in some way. Like, it just feels like even if you take care of someone, for example, you're still expecting something back from them, right? Like a gratitude, something small. Everything has to come as a price today. All of us have our market value that we technically display to everybody else. And if we are useless to another person, they probably don't want to hang out with us. It just makes me really sad. There's like so much things I feel like just sucks as an adult. I feel like the education system sort of also prevents us from exploring how we truly feel about ourselves. We're given these subjects we have to learn, right? Like math, science, and English, and we are expected to sort of conform and think very similarly. The answers you probably end up focusing on are all based on what the teachers expects you to answer, right? There's not really multiple answers typically on a quiz or exam or test. It really puts life in its own parameters. I feel like as a kid, life feels like it has more freedom just because you realize you're not really restricted by the given parameters society has set for us. When you're an adult, you realize that we have to do things a certain way, right? We have to be law-abiding citizens. We can't just do whatever we want. And sure, you might think we are able to enjoy a lot of things we can't do as kids, right? Like drink alcohol, we can smoke, we can go out at night whenever we want. If you're probably a teen or a kid watching this, you probably envy us adults being able to go whenever we please, right? Well, that comes with many caveats and disadvantages. I feel like it might seem like true freedom, but life just feels like a prison sometimes. I also have some stories to share. I have some notes written down in my notebook. But really take the chance to think about how life has changed, the way you thought about life after you became an adult, right? I feel like as you become adult, you realize that Us humans, we're very, very judgmental. I actually don't really grow up that much often. We are pretty much man toddlers. Many people nowadays still are very racist, right? Like, you might think like racism has always been around, right? But if you think about it, as a kid, you probably don't realize the severity of racism, how much damage it causes to your mental and psychological health, and how dehumanizing judging someone by the skin color is. This might be very normalized, but feels like a breach of our human needs. I don't even want to say human rights, because human rights just feels very commercialized now. Like, people nowadays don't really take human rights as an inherent part of nature. Like, human rights, people think, have existed only because of society. But I feel like it's just unfortunate how our freedom and security are at stake. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if 50 years from now, AI can monitor our behavior, right? We are already getting targeted ads. It's like there's a lot of spying going around in the Stone Age, sadly. Yeah, just unfortunate. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of times I just feel like the world just moves backwards. As we learn more about the world, we realized that we need to sort of almost take advantage of others subconsciously. Like, you might not realize that life itself is actually very superficial. Like, if you go on dating apps, you probably realize that there's a lot of people that are very picky. They go through filters, right? If you're not 6 feet tall, you're gonna be out of the equation. Doesn't matter how good your personality is. I just feel like gamifying relationships is not something that's meant to be in this world. We should look at love and relationships as almost like platonic. There shouldn't be any transactional value that goes into it. And you might argue, like, this is a capitalist society we live in. Deal with it. Play with the system. You're just upset because you haven't really taken advantage of the full system yet. And yeah, what if I don't really want to play with the system? What if I just want to stay as myself and just enjoy life as it is? Admire and appreciate the nature around me. Like, look at this. Look at the beautiful weather. Feels like a lot of people just live with distractions nowadays. They want to escape the corporate lifestyle, which I totally get. I actually have plenty of things about my work I want to share, but people just fail to appreciate what really matters in life anymore. Like, the world itself is honestly beautiful if you look at it very closely, right? Like, right now I'm at a beautiful place, currently making this video outside, because I just feel like being cooped up inside, it's not very healthy for my mental health. And this also gives me a bit of a different perspective on life. I might even walk around, honestly, but kind of right now I'm just sitting on a bench. Might go for a jog afterwards. But so, regarding the corporate work, there's a lot to say. So, part of being an adult, let's say you're not a son of or a daughter of a wealthy millionaire or even a billionaire. Let's say you have responsibilities. You probably need to find a job, unless you're living off your parents' savings, right? Or living with your parents. Chances are you're probably living with your parents, or you're unemployed, or you're working but you have a roommate. There's a lot of scenarios, but regardless, you probably need to work in some way as an adult. That's just part of the responsibility of being an adult, right? Now, there's a lot of things I want to talk about work. Work is just one of these things I really don't want to discuss, but it's unavoidable. Work is part of society. In this capitalist society, we're expected to work. Work is pretty much our calling, our duty as a citizen. We have to contribute to society, make it grow richer and wealthier. And apparently it's supposed to give us back as well. It's supposed to keep our citizens safe, right? Look what that's been going for us, right? Seems like a lot of people trust the government too much as well. People just take the government as the safeguards of humanity. They're going to protect us like the guardian angels in the skies. They're going to be basically peacekeepers that prevent crime from happening. And in fact, it's not even foolproof at all. So, if you didn't know, I'm currently a factory worker. Today is one of my few days off. I have to go back to work on Monday. Got another overtime shift. And overtime, I just feel like, is very overrated. People love money, right? In this society, people would chase and do things just for money, even if it means breaking the law sometimes. Now, working overtime is pretty much no different from that. Working overtime, people embrace it. Like, they would love to pretty much work more just for more money, right? If you think about it, working at a factory, working an office job as an accountant, or being an engineer, it's no different from being like a prostitute selling your own body. You're pretty much selling your body and sacrificing your mental health and physical health for money. And people still tend to judge others by the profession, right? You probably look down on people that are prostitutes or like drug dealers, but they're trying to make a living just like you, right? It's just that we utilize different parts of our body in certain jobs. For example, in construction, you might use your shoulders a lot, carrying lumber. Or if you're working like in an office, you just might use your fingers a lot, typing, right? There's a lot of scenarios. People tend to look at things way too much in a black and white manner when it comes to even religion, political ideologies, which I talked plenty of in my previous videos, but sort of want to stray away from that in this. Just want to talk more about my work, because that's been what my life has been as an adult. Work, and consuming at home, consuming a lot of media that is propagandized by the government. Pretty much, if you think about it, all the news you look online, if you are a reporter, if you want to get the latest scoop on what's going on inside government, you want to form a positive, almost relationship with them. So a lot of things they will tell you is going to be censored, right? So if you think about it, news itself is very fabricated. Pretty much all the trustworthy news you read and listen about on TV is actually very like censored and changed in a way that almost reinforces the narrative of what the news media wants and the government wants us to hear as citizens, right? It's like we're living in a dystopian society. We're living inside 1984. Government's always watching everything we say from our smartphones. Like, I remember a few weeks ago, I got ad for dog food because I was talking about dog food at work, how I was thinking of getting a dog. Well, what's the chance of that happening, right? Can't possibly be a coincidence. Now, if you don't believe me, there's another instance where at work I was talking about an anime called Hunter x Hunter. Sure, none of you probably even know that. I feel like not many people watch anime, but maybe some of you do. But basically, I got recommended a YouTube short on it and some couple advertisements on Crunchyroll on the anime Hunter x Hunter. So, a bit interesting to think about. And I know some of you might think I'm very black pill if you watch The Matrix, very have a doomer mindset, but I feel like our generation, Generation Z or Z if you're Canada, it's very difficult to make money. It's very difficult to feel truly happy. It's almost like money is the intermediary that we need to make money. And how do you make money? Well, you need a 9-to-5 job or you need to create a startup. Majority of people just prefer pretty much working because it's stable income. No one wants to take the risk. Like, stocks are very volatile, right? And with all the pumping and dumping and market manipulation that the US government has done, it's kind of risky right now. Like, working a 9-to-5 is pretty much the most stable way to enjoy the luxuries of life. Except, in fact, in Canada, it's very difficult to make a living. Tons of entry-level jobs are being taken away from us. And I can't really blame all on the foreign workers. It's mostly about how it's pretty much constituted, right? Like how pretty much young Canadians used to be able to get a job even at McDonald's or at Costco. Nowadays, companies prefer outsourcing it to foreign workers who's willing to make pennies and peanuts, and they can, give them less wage for the same amount of work, which is just very the greedy practice that businesses do. Like they just care about the ROIs, return on investment, and how pretty much they just care about showing the quarterly revenue update to their investors. And life has become pretty much online with money. Money itself runs with life. And being an adult means you need to constantly have the feeling of chasing money, being in a constant rat race. You have to step over others to achieve what you want. If you want to have a higher promotion, if you want to get a decent job, you're going to have to probably fabricate a bit on a resume. You have to make parasocial and ungenuine relationships at work. You have to probably make fake, ungenuine connections on LinkedIn. Act like you care about the person, but in fact, you just want to make money, be able to travel. Life has become just a clown circus. And about my workplace, I just feel like there's a lot of toxic positivity at work. Like pretty much, basically at work, you're expected to be positive, right? Like being positive is sort of almost ingrained in every single company culture. You're expected to enjoy being a part of a family. There's a sort of a family, almost like a cult in a way. Like companies want you to feel at home. They want you to stay and be satisfied with their line of work and thinking. They want to indoctrinate you into their own beliefs, right? Just like a religion would. And it's interesting because at my workplace, sometimes we would have pizza parties on Fridays, we would have potlucks, we would have picnics and Christmas parties on special holidays, right? But the weird thing is that almost feels very forced, manufactured. Like if I say no, they're gonna try to convince me. They're gonna be like, why? Don't you have a lot of free time? They're gonna make me feel bad for not participating with them. I mean, I'm all about the human bonding, relationship building, but when it becomes superficial and becomes part of almost like a social practice in company culture, it feels ungenuine and not authentic, and I don't like the feeling of that. It just feels very fake, and I'd rather just not be forced passive aggressively by it. Now, I'm not blaming a single company for that. A lot of companies I work for are also like that. It's just part of capitalist society. And I remember during one of the pizza parties, I only got one slice of pizza, and they were like, more, take more. And they were like trying to get me cake as well. I'm like, I'm good, I'm on diet. I don't really want to consume so much sugar, but I don't know. Sometimes it just feels like companies get really pushy when they want to behave in a certain way. It's almost like they want to behave you in a systematic manner, almost make you conform to their culture, so you're able to be controlled more easily. And a few days ago, I was watching a video about how you shouldn't reveal too much about yourself. Being silent is very powerful. If you reveal too much about yourself, people are going to take advantage of you. They're going to exploit you. So sometimes silence is very important in our society. And there's just a lot of things I really hate about being an adult. Like at work, I have to deal with office politics. You have to be careful what you have to say. You have to say, the things you say have to be very politically correct. You can't just bash on people. You can't say whatever you want. Everything's heavily censored and superficial. And there's a lot of social bargaining that goes around. Workers have to constantly fight for higher wages, and sad things happen. You can pretty much get laid off or fired for no reason at all. One of my past friends got laid off. He was in union as well. He was working for a depot company. They were recycling water bottles and garbage. He was in union. He should be very protected, right? But nope, he got laid off just because he was at school at the time, so he couldn't really work the full 40 hours. So he worked around 33 hours. They said, you have to work full time or we're gonna lay you off. And he got laid off like within 1 week. But you know what's funny? Companies expect you to like tell them 2 weeks ahead of time if you want to quit the job, right? It's almost like companies want you to respect them, but they don't respect you back. They dehumanize us. Like if you're in a very entry-level position, or if you're working like pretty much as a blue-collar worker, you're gonna be dehumanized. They don't care what you think. They just care that you meet your job quota and get your crap done, right? And that's part of being an adult. Conformity. Conform to society. Doesn't matter if you don't work. You still have to do things a certain way. If you're buying stuff, you have to wait in line. You have to be patient. You can't really have things your way. And sure, you might argue that this is what keeps our society in check. But I feel like there comes to a point where there's too much control almost. Too much interference with our human thought. And I feel like nowadays I just don't feel human anymore. And being adult truly sucks. And just workplace is very toxic. I know I cover a lot of topics, but these are just a lot of things I wanted to share today with you all. Sorry if it's very depressing, but hopefully you all understand where I'm coming from, and hopefully things will change, which will probably not. But thanks for listening all. Have a really great rest of your day, and take care. Peace.